Episode 21, Care Bear Society.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And here we go again. Welcome, ladies and girls, boys and gentlemen, to an entirely new week with new challenges and new disasters and new whatever. I have no idea. I am a tidbit, well, not frustrated. I wouldn't say that because technically I never am, but there was a few things getting on my nerves. But first thing is first. Your podcast exercise from Friday. Did that work out? Which podcasts did you subscribe to? Are you listening to podcasts when you're doing monotonous, shitty things? If you were not witness to this grandiose episode from Friday about maximizing personal productivity, skip back to episode 20, check it out. Very interesting shit. And let's get started with Care Bear Society. I couldn't think of a shittier name for safetyism because that word in itself is, I don't know, stupid. It doesn't, and I don't know, it just sounds wrong in so many ways. Because if there's one thing in life which is certain, it's death. I think that's the only certainty in life. And on the way to that, I have come across many, I don't know, inhibitations, if that is even a word, where I was forced, as someone who has common sense, to, I don't know, get rid of it, lose it, because somebody who thought that was cleverer than me, actually sat down and said, look, here's a rule, because we have to protect other people, follow it. And if you don't, we shall penalize you heavily. And I don't know, I've paid my fair share of speeding tickets because there's a very heavy inflation of speed limit signs in Germany and in other European countries. I don't know if they were on sale or whatever, but there are perfectly good roads where you can do the normal unwritten speed limit of 100 kilometers an hour in Germany, 90 in France or 80 in France and other countries where there is no real technical reason to limit the speed to, let's say, 70 kilometers an hour, which in turn, if the road is redone, modernized, improved, will be reduced to 60 kilometers an hour. And I was driving the other day and thought, wow, they improve the road, they make it better, they make it safer, and they decrease the speed limit. What's the fucking point? And around this thought came really interesting other thoughts with workplace safety and, I don't know, just a variety of other things that popped into my head where I was looking for an adequate term to describe this movement, this motion of society towards something really despicable, like a dystopian world where everything is regulated and you get penalized for everything. It's not like, here's a sign, follow it, and if you don't follow it, we're going to speak with you. No, it's about really making money and looting people who don't abide by more or less stupid rules. Now, I just witnessed a few podcasts, especially in the COVID era, where a bunch of tinfoil hat wearers were speaking about anarchy and that's the only way to go. No, I don't necessarily agree entirely. I think a lot of countries are overregulated and are continuing to do so. And the biggest problem is that, unlike in some countries, in most countries, the regulations are, or the legislature is set into place, and it is never again tested for validity. And I think it's Switzerland where every law that gets put out has to be reviewed every so many years, whether it's still applicable, and if it's not, well, it's at least discussed about. Whether or not it gets removed or modernized is a totally different story, but the intention is there, that you don't run into a deadlock of rules and regulations. Long story short, where was I going with this? All of these regulations, all of this legislature is there to protect the people, but to protect the people of what? You know, on the one hand, I get that there are certain aspects of civil life that need to be governed. That's the point of government to a degree. But on the other hand, you're educating away common sense, because at a point there comes a point when people just don't think anymore, but they entrust that there is a rule to guide them through what would otherwise be solved by common sense. And that's the example I just made with the road modernization, where my next thought was, well, okay, modernize the road 3 or 4 times more. We're going to be at a speed limit of 30 kilometers an hour, and then we might as well walk because that's faster. We don't need the automobiles because they're unsafe anyhow. You can have crashes and all of that bad stuff. And don't mention the environment. Don't get me started. So an interesting kind of sarcasm rose in me, and I didn't really get the point of protecting people who are generally incapable of driving, and thereby inhibiting the speedy movement of people who are, right? Same goes for workplace safety. And I spoke with a friend about this topic after I had my sarcastic thoughts. And it was like, this dude works in a hardware shop, and he was just rolling his eyes when I kind of introduced the topic of workplace safety. And we jokingly said, if you saw off one of your fingers, you've got 9 more, and it's kind of like, yeah, you can try and protect the people from everything, but how are people going to use common sense to actually go safely throughout life? What if a situation comes where no one's thought about, and one person walks down a cliff because there was no sign that said don't walk down a cliff? And plus it takes away so much liberty that is necessary for humanity to advance. If you take, for instance, Columbus's discovery of the Americas back in the 1400s, these dudes were adventurers. They set out and they knew that there was a very high likelihood that they would never come back, because of all of the sea serpents and, all of the other mythical creatures that were supposed to be in the ocean. But the point is, I have no idea in that context how this Mars mission is supposed to go. It's a one-way trip. Everybody knows it. But on the other hand, I can imagine there's a bunch of shysters rubbing their hands at class action lawsuits for the people who change their mind when they get there. And then what's going to happen? Are you going to sue Musk or NASA or the European Space Agency to build a spacecraft to get them back? I don't know, maybe 10 years later or whatever, once they kind of change their mind. No, point is, I think that we have come a long way from really unsafe, unhealthy, uncivilized cultures. And we've moved towards a very, very modern, almost hygienic, medically well-equipped society where there is a point, and I think the point's been reached, where rules and regulations need to make way for common sense again. And I think that's the point that I think that's the point where I think, we're moving into more and more towards a Care Bear society where if we stay inside, it kind of resonates with the COVID-19 measures. If we stay inside forever and then only come out when nothing bad ever happens again. And in fact, this was a meme that I saw on some social media stream a while ago where there was a prancing unicorn and the text was exactly that. We'll just never go outside again until nothing bad happens ever again. And here's the point with that. Bad things happen. It's always going to be that way. And no matter how hard you try and protect yourself, Mother Nature is going to do her thing to give us a hard time. And so is fate. And so is, you can't protect yourself against everything. It just doesn't work out. That being said, that's the end of my Care Bear Society rant, I think. More to come, I hope. And I hope to hear you tomorrow, where we're going to go into the topic of appearing to be busy, which is totally interesting. I swear, hands down. So have a good night, have a good day, and let me know your thoughts and your feedback and your criticism. Criticism, yeah, I wanted to say criticalities, but no, it's criticism. To the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com. And peace out. Keep your hands above the blanket. Sleep well. If you're not sleeping, then I hope you have a good and motherfucking successful day. See you soon.